I've been blessed to be around Tramy and Nguyen and Doan, three of our fellow committee members for the Vietnam War Memorial in Brook Run Park this summer. It'll be installed, we have served. We've done a lot of work together, and I've learned a lot of stories from them. And I really was thrilled that they were willing to come and share some of their experiences. All of them lived in Vietnam under communism, got out of Vietnam, came to this country by hook and by crook, by a variety of ways. I'll let them tell you about it. I will start with Tramy, and then you can introduce the others, if that's okay with you. All right, I want you to welcome Tramy Nguyen. She's the president of the Vietnamese-American community of Georgia and America.
Hello, everyone. It is my honor to be here, and I thank you, John, and everybody, to give me a chance to be here and share my story. As you can see, I assume I'll be the youngest person in here, right? But my dad, he was part of you. And seeing everybody here and heard the story about, who's surviving the cancer, who's going to the hospital, who's in the wheelchair, it touched my heart. Because I cannot imagine you were all once young, but instead of having a time of your life, you spend time in a strange country and fight, not even knowing what you're doing. I guess because whatever order up there. But I want to start off about my name. My name is Tramy Nguyen. And if you wonder where my name came from, it came from a mountain called Tramy in Da Nang, where the VC took my dad and captured him after we lost the country. And if you ask me again, do you want this name? No. If I have a choice, I would never want to be this name, because that reminds me that my dad was in prison and we lost the country. And with that name, it reminds me what I need to do as a young Vietnamese and the daughter of South Vietnam veterans. So I was born right after we lost the country in August. My dad was captured by the VC right the fall of Saigon. And they took him to jail. And he leaving behind his parents' relative, a young wife, 4 small children, and 1 unborn. I was born in August 1st, 1975. My mom raised all of us by herself. And she struggled making a living and tried to stay away from trouble so the VC don't have the reason to come after her. They pretty much, after we lost the country, the government tried to come and get everything that they can from the South Vietnam. Property, land, gold, money, whatever that is, if they can touch their hand on it, they will. And they consider us as traitors who partner with America and took Vietnam. I was raised my whole teenage in the communist school. All I know was Ho Chi Minh, about Lenin. None of the story were told. Whenever that I took the award that I received and it would have the name of Ho Chi Minh on top, when my dad came home, he would tear one by one. And he sat me down and he told me the story. So by 13, somebody came home and said, call me Dad. And that's how I got my dad. During the time where my dad was in prison, my mom raised all of the children by herself. My brothers and sister did not have a chance to go to school because we have to pay the money. And because you consider you are the Southern Vietnamese, you didn't get the proper education or you would be treated differently. I was the only one that able to go to school. And after the war, the revenge from the communists, they really take a toll on a lot of people. One thing that they did, and they did very successful, were target all the South Vietnamese soldiers and officers. that that they put them in what they call reach education boot camp, where they able to torture, kill, suffer them, beat them. And a lot of them didn't make it back. I'm lucky enough that I got my dad back. But they locked him up in a private cell for 5 years, isolated from everybody because he worked for CIA before. And because he has a lot of knowledge, he's able to draw, and he can draw both hands. So they use his, labor, and somehow he can get away from a lot of torture. But he told a story where they got beat up, and now back when he's got older, he suffered from a lot of arthritis and a lot of pain because at the time in prison. The next thing that the communists did after the war, that they destroyed all history, all the books, anything related to South Vietnam. They want to make sure they brainwash you where South Vietnamese are bad people. Everything about South Vietnam is no good. So I remember one time when my mom was in the house about midnight. Somebody knocked on the door and said, tomorrow morning, some of the official people are going to come and ask you to leave the house. Whatever you do not agree with their terms. And so my mom did. I think that gentleman have a crush on my mom. She was very pretty. So he leaked a little information. And I think he got punished after that because he shared the information with my mom. So that morning, 7 a.m., there was a bunch of them. Soldier man came and said, you know what? This house is in the middle of like a capital, main street. We need to take, and this belongs to the government. You and your children have to move and go to a reform land where it used to bomb, a very bad area, and you just have to start your life all over again. And she said, you rather kill me and my 5 kids. I am not leaving. And the only reason why we're able to keep that house because it was under my grandparents' name. So they have no reason to get it. Otherwise, we would lose it. And she survived until my dad came home. But the winning story from the winning side, which is the Viet Cong, it wasn't winning at all because a lot of people after the war realized all of their saying is BS. The South was a very successful modern country, I would say. The North were the one that have nothing. So we don't need to be rescued. We don't need to be saved. But you came and invade South Vietnam. And after 2 years, since 1977, there was a big flow of people start to leave in the country. Never before, when we're under the regime of France, of China, of America, even during the war, nobody leave the country. But when the winning side, Viet Cong, took over the country, everybody ran away because there's no freedom, there's no democracy, there's no rights at all. Everything was controlled by the government. And each house got to have a picture of that bastard Ho Chi Minh. You probably don't know anything, but you have to know his name. He's a father. There's no God, there's no relative. He is your father. He is why you are today. And for 13 years, that's all I knew. Until my dad said, you know what? That bastard was the one that put me in jail. And there's another side story that I learned. So we came to America in 1991. There was one time I have a essay in school, share the story about how I got to America and my own story. I was junior. I didn't know any English. I'm still learning it today. But it was struggle, And I wrote that essay, and guess what? I got nominated in school for that essay of my own story about Vietnam War and about my dad. And I feel proud, and I realized, you know what? Of all the things that are happening, the chance for us to be in America is the best of all. because I don't know what I would do or my whole family would be if we're still in Vietnam. Because my dad, after he got back, after 12 years, got back from the prison, they still supervision him. Everywhere he go, they follow. They want to make sure that you did not contact anybody to go against the government. You didn't form any way to bring the history back. They want to make sure all of history will erase. And it's not that easy. Sometimes they have to sneak away. And you heard about the term boat people, right? So from 1977 till late 80s, a lot of people have escaped the country in a small, tiny boat. And you hear that story from my husband later on because he was one of them at 8 years old. I was lucky enough to come here in a plane. But back in the days, I remember once, because we live near the ocean, near the sea. Every day, there's a report, somebody missing, somebody died, they got the body back. And it's all about the world freedom. We gotta leave Vietnam to fight freedom. Even the chance of surviving very slim. So what is that about Vietnam that win the war? Nothing. It's the worst suffer that the Vietnamese people have to deal with until today. I want to share a little bit about the fact after the war. Like say, there are people escape the country, there's no freedom, no vote, even to today, there's no democracy. And there are people who raise their voice up, they would go not only after them, they go after their family, their relative. They want to stop the spreading by killing, by locking up, so they don't even have a chance. And people are scared. But you know one thing, after the trading thing was in the term of the President Bill Clinton, there's an opportunity for the trading between two countries. The VC survive and become bigger today compared to when they just won the war, because the Vietnamese-American around the world supply the money back there. They thinking that they help their relative, but in fact they're feeding and supporting the government, not knowing that. So every year there are billions of dollars sent back to Vietnam. And guess what? They just expanding, and now they trying to invade it in America and around the world. There's a lot of communists undercover here in America, in our own community. And they trying to erase the history, trying to erase the flags, our southern yellow 3 red stripe flag that I'm being holding. And I fight so hard to keep it alive, because that's all we have left from our veterans. So last year, what was it, 2023, there was one communist singer that came to America. He wear, back in Vietnam, he wear a big red flag with the star, and he always worship Ho Chi Minh. So we against him. But they have enough money to bring him here, form a concert on Thanksgiving night, where all the elder, Miss Lay, her husband, and all the elder, like you are here, standing outside holding the sign. Where inside they have a huge party celebrating it. And I know they're trying hard to today. They go against me, they go against anybody who speak up for the South Vietnamese veterans, who's still thinking that South Vietnam was once a country that have our democracy. And if I had to share one thing with you, when you go back to Vietnam, you might visit, you see that they have changed country now, but underneath, nothing but the empty place. Everything were taken by the Chinese, controlled by the Chinese people. There was one time this gentleman told me, of all the good things that happened after the war, if the successful of those Vietnamese refugees around the world that become somebody that serve back to the country that they belong. I am proud to be an American, and I thank so much for the opportunity to be here, to able to keep my culture, my tradition, get blend in with the American society, and able to honor all the sacrifice both American veterans and South Vietnamese veterans have lost their life, their youth during Vietnam War. So my commitment is to keep that momentum alive, to keep the history alive, and I'm so honored that I have a chance. The Vietnamese community of Georgia has a chance to partner with AVVBA, with John, with Mr. Robinson, Jimmy Robinson, Alan J, and the city of Doan to make all this possible. So we're really looking forward to the memorial, and it will happen in soon, right? It's in the great process, and we went to visit Alan last time to saw the statue. We went to Robinson, Jimmy to Albenton to see the wall, right? So I'm excited. So I'm here to learn. I'm here to appreciate. I'm here to keep your legacy, go on, and I'm here to learn all the things that you're able to share, so I can keep that going. And I wish one day we can make a film about it. And I wish one day we're working on where we can have your movie, and it's called Boat People, and it's called Past Shadow movie, able to have it in the Dunwoody Park on the same day we do the grand opening. So that is a goal. That's all I have to say, and I thank you again for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Pham. Or Wayne is not actually my birth name, but my birth name would be Nguyen Pham. But they have a problem with pronunciation, so my teacher gave me the name Wayne. So, but as you heard the previous speaker, that's my better half, and she's definitely a better speaker than I am. But I am the what do you call it? Boat people. So I escaped Vietnam with my dad. During the time that we escaped, I didn't know that we were escaping. I thought we were going on vacation. So when we got on the boat, I said, wow, okay, that's the first time I've been on a boat. It's nice. I thought we were going fishing, but it's not. So we left Vietnam. The reason is because of my dad. My dad was a military police during the Vietnam War, and the Viet Cong keep going to the house and trying to find him and trying to enlist him into re-education camp. But it's prison, so he knew about it, and he's been trying to evade him. And they go to the house probably say about 3 or 4 times a week, and every time they're there, he's not there. So finally, we decided. My parents decided to escape, and my dad and I would go first. So that way, if anything happened, then my mom and brother and sister would be back to support us. We were very fortunate that we escaped in 1981, and with the I thought it was a ship, but it wasn't. It was a boat, and it was about 30 feet long, and I say about 8 feet wide, I guess. It was bigger back then. There were 60 of us on the boat, and we all crammed up, and we were covered with tarps, so we can't see outside. And we left late at night. By the time I was able to see the ocean, that was past noon, and we were already out of the Vietnam territory. And we were very happy that we made it that far. But several hours later, our motor went out, and we were drifted for 3 days, and we burned everything that we can. Every ship that we saw far distant, we try to burn, make a fire so they could see us. So they burn everything. The only thing that you're allowed to have is a shirt and a short. That was it. Nothing else. There was no carry-on. Like we go on a cruise now. There's, that there was no luggage. We were very fortunate. I'm still shaking from all this. We were very fortunate that on the third day, on the fourth night, that we were rescued right before the storm hit. And the storm, I remember seeing that sitting at the bottom of the boat, I could see the storm over, the ocean wave over us. And we were just drifting. That's all we could do, nothing else. But we were saved by the fuel tanker from Holland. And the fuel tanker, we were the last ship that they saved, the last boat that they saved. And as soon as they saved us, the boat sank, right after. As soon as they let the boat go, and it sank because of the heavy wave. And it was traumatizing. I still have nightmares about the situation. And that also reminds me of where I come from. And we got to, the next day we got to Malaysia, which was a refugee camp there in Malaysia. It's called Pulau Bidong. And that's where we met all the other refugees. And they said that we were one of the most fortunate boat people, that we didn't get robbed, we didn't get killed by the pirate. We didn't get raped, any of that. And we made it to the refugee camp. And when we made it there, it was the night. That night there was a storm as well, and they gave us slippers. We were barefooted, and they gave us slippers, and I was so happy I had something to wear, to put on. But I lost it 5 minutes later trying to cross a creek that I thought was shallow, but it wasn't. It was deep. We were there for 3 months. Life was hard. There was no running water. There was no pretty much bathroom or anything. We were on the island. There was a small hospital, but that was it. But the food was it's the first time I think I had instant noodle. So I remember the brand Kung Fu instant noodle, and I still eat them today. Life was tough on the island, but we made it. After 3 months, we made it to the mainland Malaysia. And that's where we start learning the English and education, how American life is. And 3 months later, we got moved to Philippines. That's where they do our health tests and our education. We were there for 6 months. And finally, we went to America. And that's my first time on a plane. My wife is very fortunate to go that route, but she, her dad paid a price. We made it to America, and life in America was hard for us too. My dad had to work 2 jobs, supporting his family here, which is me and him, and also support my mom and brother and sister in Vietnam. And we were reunited 10 years later. So I lost 10 years without my mom. Life without mom is hard. Dad is gone all the time. excuse me. It's been 40 years since then, but it's hard. I still remember. But we're among the very fortunate people that made it to America. There are over 1 million people that escaped Vietnam by boat, and yet between 200 to 600,000 of them lost at sea. But I want to take my opportunity to thank you, all the veterans, the American veterans, the Vietnam veterans that fight for Vietnam and that sacrifice their life for our freedom. And I want to thank you, the United States of America, for providing us a home, a freedom, freedom of democracy, freedom of religion, speech, freedom of enterprise. And we work hard every day to make that possible. And I always tell my daughter that freedom is not free. A lot of us work hard for it. A lot of us sacrifice for it. And again, I want to thank you, the United States of America, and everyone that fought for us. Thank you.
How many more? One more? Just the last one? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Well, it's hard to not crying. My name is Doan. My story is a little bit more happier than that. Because I have the privilege to come to America when I was 14 years old. My family is the business people, not the godfather. Real business people, and they travel the world, and they friends with Americans that I'm working with, and able to send me to America to study. I was 14 years old then. In 1970, I came to California, and in 1975, when the wars got invaded by the North Vietnam, I then asking for political asylum because I have no country to go back. And my father, he is in the Navy, and he is one of those special force with America, American task force. You can say SEAL now, but I don't know what they call that. I'm too young to know. But his mission is to go into the North and scout. He did it several times, but in 1963, he never come back. Then in 75, I'm alone in America. And I try to find my family, because I know once the communists come into the country, the business people, like my family, will get executed because they think we are the traitor, we are dealing with American. So I'm worried about for their safety. At that time, I only 18 years old. I volunteered with the Red Cross, going to different areas where they have refugees arrive, hoping that I can see my family. And I continue to do that the whole time from 75 to up to 96. Every summer I will go to the refugees camp in Thailand, Pudong, and Philippines. Philippines is the transition refugee camp. That means anybody got accepted by the U.S. to be refugee and get into USA for settlement. they have to go through there and stay there from 3 to 6 months to learn the life here and learn the language. So every summer, I spend my time in refugee camp. And I work with special group. It's called the minor children, children unaccompanied. Those children on their way, like the boat people, seeking freedom, their parents or their relative died. So when they landed at the refugee camp, any country that have refugee camp, they are minor, so they will be taken away to a site, and the Red Cross, the IRC, the World Relief or Lutheran Social Service, Catholic Social Service, will start working with them and try to find sponsors to bring them into whichever the country willing to accept them. So I work with those special programs. And back in the USA, you can say I'm one of the activists, very vocal. I look shy, but I'm not shy when I go to the White House. I will raise my voice, demanding for them to look at immigration program. The children that been born there with American father, doesn't matter what their race is, or even any American, but the outstanding children that you notice is the black children, because their skin, their hair, and also the white, because you can identify them right away. But the American children that will not get accepted, like the Korean, the Philippine, they are citizens, USA citizens, but because they look like us. So those children have been misleading. They got to stay back. They cannot, no accept if they don't have proper paper. And because they are Americans, they are outcast, not accepted when the communist government take over. They will be homeless. They will be on the street. They have no education. So in 1984, me and some senators, actors in White House, we get together and we went over in Hanoi to work with the government, since we see the big populations of the immigration out there that need help. And finally, they agree, because they don't want to see these children in their homeland anyway. So we get the approval to bring them over in 1990. So the first group of immigration children landed in USA. And the next step that we're working on is the, we call HO, Humanity Operations, which are the soldiers, Vietnamese Republic of Vietnam, have been in the concentration camp, we call them. It's a concentration camp. Here we call POW. Because they got, like Tramy there, they've been jailed from the first date of the fall of Saigon. My husband also, he's a major in the Marine, Vietnamese Marine, and he got trained in Quantico. So of course he's in the concentration camp. The last battle he got caught is on March 29 of 1975. He'd been there almost 10 years. So I don't know my husband then. But we able to work with the government, with the communist government, to allow anyone in the concentration camp 3 years or more qualified to come to the USA. So we have like 100,000 soldiers able to come. And yet we still have a lot of the Vietnamese soldiers that not able to come because they're not qualified for that 3 years or more. So they continue to try to escape by boat or by feet to different, and there's still a big portions of refugees is in Thailand because they escape after the law saying that after 1996 you're not a refugee anymore, but they still continue to do that, so they still in jail over there. So our job is not stop even now because we try. There's so many out there that looking for freedom, and it's misleading. When the government took over, they, like Tramy said, they tried to rewrite the whole history of the Vietnam War. And even here, our people misleading about the war. They have no idea what's going on. And being here at that young age, I witnessed, I got to see the anti-war, anti-Vietnam. I see when the Vietnam veteran return here, it's not welcome. And no help, no assistance from the government itself. But now I'm so happy to see that the government start looking and apologize. It's too late, but still it's not late, right? Because at least we are being honored for serving our country. And my involvement with the Vietnamese-American community of Georgia is not the first thing, because I believe in the freedom. I believe to bring the history to the truth and to let everybody know what horrible the communism is. And it's still this day, they still try to hide all that. They will come in, my family, 3 days after they came to the South, my family got thrown out. My grandma got thrown out. They took all her business. And they gave her 300 Vietnam communist money, which is nothing. And several years later, 3 years later, she died because she couldn't accept it. My husband is Marine, and he served for almost 10 years. And he almost gets executed because he tried to escape several times. But for like Tramy father, he has special skills. He's got trained by the West Point. So he came to the West Point for 1 year to learn. So he can paint. His writing is very beautiful. And the people in the camp is respected him. So to help his concentration camp, he created a program, self-sufficiency. So they raise their own pig and cow, and and it become one of the largest refugee camp, and not refugee but concentration camp, to feed the whole northern during that time. They would come down every day to select the foods, select the chicken, the duck, or whatever. Because my husband he blending out, like he will find out who can know anything, experience about raising the duck or anything. So he got different group doing that. So they saw him is like a manager. So he survived because he bring money in for them. That labor camp, I call it labor. It's hard labor camp. And so when he came to America, he met me, and we got married. We have one son right now, and he got stroke a couple months ago. So his left side is weak. He's in the wheelchair right now. but doesn't stop his spirit. He's still fighting and believe in the freedom. I just want to, just want you to know we are proud of you, the Vietnamese, the American soldiers, the veterans. We are proud of you. You did what you did. You stand up. You fight for the freedom of other people, other country. You serve with the honor. You make us proud as a Vietnamese and American. And I salute you. Thank you.
Cancel that.
We have a technical snafu. We have some time for questions. If you have questions, I would ask all three of them to come in case you have questions for any of them or all of them, and then we have a little award to give them. Anyone speak English in here at all?
Well, I just want to say something that Wayne missed out when he was on that boat. He was only 8 years old, and you know, he said he thought that was a cruise, but now he realized that the rescue boat on a cruise is like a lot, like 50 times bigger than the boat that he went on. Come on.
Yeah, and I forgot to say one thing too. Later in the 70s, 80 something, I'm also working with the Doctor Without the Border for the rescue boat. And I'm one of the original people to form the boat people.
Was there any trouble given to your family, your mom and
Back in Vietnam.
sisters that were left back in Vietnam when they found out you
Repeat the question.
Yes, was the communist given my mom, who is back in Vietnam, when they know that my dad and I had escaped, they came looking for him, and when my dad sent a telegraph telling my mom that he had made it, so they were trying to come to confiscate whatever we had, and fortunately the house belonged to my grandma, and we didn't have anything because my mom sold everything that we had so she can also escape. She escaped 5 times with my brother and sister. She got put in prison 4 times. Each time it could be as long as 2 to 3 months, and longest is 6 months, because she is a female and with young children, so they let her go home early because it's a burden for them because they got to feed them. And the men, they would put them in prison longer because they were able to use their labor. The last time she quit trying to escape because there was a brother and sister that got killed on the last escape, and they were sitting right next to my brother and sister. So my mom gave up, and she said that she'd wait for my dad to sponsor.
Can we have some help with the microphone?
Can you hear me?
I can
Yes,
get
No.
I don't know him.
Thank you very much for being here today. I'm wondering, this question is for all 3 of you. When you first came to this country, I wonder what surprised you about this country? Either something that was good or not so good.
For me, is the opportunity to learn the business over here. That's what my family want me to go here, to learn the business and come back and work for the family. But I didn't have that opportunity because the war is over and we failed. But asking about what made me think American is the country of free air. You can say anything in your mind. You can do anything that you think is potential for yourself or good for the other. And one good thing by doing all my volunteers, American is the great volunteer at all. Anywhere, your neighbor, anything you're asking, can you help me? Yes. We are the love people. We go all the way to outside, whatever we can, and it's still to that day. Our neighbors, like when they have earthquake or somewhere in the world, we don't even know where they are, but we hear about it. We will get together and we do about it. That is the great American, and that's I love to be there.
To me, everything is much better than what we have in Vietnam. Anything. When we first came to America, we lived in a small apartment where water dripping down, the roach, the ant, the rat. But to me, it's still a lot better. A better food, a better environment, humankind. That is a big part. And the opportunity to change your life forever. Because they don't have to leave. People, white, old people, young kids like himself, put on a boat, leaving Vietnam. Because they know there's no other place and there's no way that they survive. There's no future for their children. And the only way they're willing to sacrifice their life is to put their family on that boat, to find a way to escape. And to me, without America, without this opportunity, I could be somebody in Vietnam that have to work my whole life and could not even survive. I don't think I have the opportunity like here. So yes, everything is much better. Thank you.
When I was in the refugee camp, the only thing I know about America was through books and pictures. But when I came to America, it was better than that. Where we came from is tough, it's hard. America, it's like heaven. But of course, we got to work hard for it, you know. But we had the opportunity. That's why my parents escaped Vietnam, because of opportunity.
Gary?
I just want to say one thing. I've heard a couple of you say we didn't win, or you lost, or we failed. We didn't fail. You didn't fail. Our country failed us. And those people who wanted to listen to the Jane Fondas of this world, instead of those people who are strong and wanted to fight for your country, we did. You didn't fail.
Thank you, and it's so true. Growing up here, that's all I hear. It's anti-Vietnam War. And when the soldiers and the veterans coming back from Vietnam in '73, and people are just turning around, they will not accept it, that you have been fought for them, for their freedom. But history will have to rewrite. We are the people. You live there, you serve them proudly. You have the opportunity, and I encourage you, stand up and let people know how proud we are. And don't let them say anything about less than that. So maybe there is opportunity we can do something together. And that is when we, John and the Vietnamese-American community and the AAPA get together and we building a Vietnam War Memorial here. That will show them, and I'm hoping that all that will come every city, every county in this country, so people can come there and look and say, yeah, my grandfather, my dad was serving in that Vietnam War. And that will go into history. Thank you.
One last from John Sowers. That's our last one. We got time.
My question's for Wayne. If you can remember, and if you feel comfortable in divulging it, could you acquaint us with just exactly how it came to be that you and your parents were able to escape? What were the arrangements that were made? Where did this boat come from? And how were the people assembled and all of that?
Everything is the word of mouth. So my parents only speak to the one that he trusts. Everything, there's no public announcement or any of that. Everything is done in secrecy. So it's the word of mouth is that they knew that the Viet Cong was keep coming to the house. So they asked around if during that time I think it's from 1979 to 1985 is the peak of when the boat people is very popular. So a lot of them they would set up in secrecy, and a lot of them are from the Vietnam Army, and so they have experience with Navy. Back then there was no GPS. There was no pretty much it's not even a map. Everything is in their head. They have a compass, but that's it. And they just, I guess at night they could navigate. And pretty much it's not public. It's not the first time we escaped, someone ratted us out. So we didn't get on the boat because we got on, everybody, it would not, we would not be here today. So there are others, like Ledam said, is scam. People are trying to scam us by saying it's actually organized by the government. So we only deal with the people we trust, more like family.
Thank you all. Hold on. On behalf of our organization, first of all, we give you a challenge coin. We're delighted that you were able to accept this from us. And secondly, we have a book that we'll talk about in just a second, but I want each of you to have a copy. This is from Bob Babcock, who published this book. The co-authors will be here in July the 2nd. I'll tell you about that in just a second. I want to say one last thing. I'm sorry. It's pardon my self-indulgent here. You probably have heard me say how much I love these people and what a joy it is and a blessing it is to hang out with them and to work with them. I think you probably get an even better sense of what that's like now. Do I agree? Do you all agree with that? Amen.